Hey everybody, my name is Paul Lesden Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com, and normally we're streaming live in 3 different places. We're streaming live in 4 different places. We're trying this out. A couple of quick shout-outs. The Heavy on Jets Facebook page, which has over 32,000 New York Jet fans. It's been awesome that you guys have invited us in your homes to watch this show every Wednesday, which is really cool. My YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25, on Twitter @BoyGreen_25, and I'm retweeting that on BoyGreen25 as well. And my partner in crime, we do this show every Wednesday, and we've been doing it for a year plus. It is the Buffalo Jet fan who's also streaming on his channel, from what I understand. Buffalo, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? Doing this stream inception. Let's give it a whirl.
Yeah, absolutely. As I hit the retweet button for all the folks at home, guys, this is a show by the people for the people. So feel free to get involved, throw your comments in, and any questions or comments you guys may have throughout the program. We have a couple of topics you guys can see at the top. We'll be diving into a few mailbag questions I got earlier this week on New York Jets, get Buffalo's take on some of them, and the top 5 Jet games of the 2023 season. The schedule's out, and this doesn't have to be the best games. It could be whatever. It's up to interpretation. Me and Buffalo will dive into each of our lists, and there may be some, like I said, some personal interesting nuggets here as well. Let's welcome in. I see Hawk jumping in here immediately. Boy Green and Buffalo, baby. Batman and Robin. What I would like to know, first off, on Batman and Robin, who's Batman, who's Robin? Number 2, the preacher and the teacher. Same question. The former beard and the sort of weird. Okay, there we go. We've equated on the beard game now. I've gone more to his level now, whacking everything off. So there you go. But it's been beautiful nonetheless. It's been beautiful. What do you make of all these, Buffalo? Are you a fan of each of these?
Oh, I love them all. I hope I'm not Batman. That's too much pressure. I hope I'm Robin.
Yes. That's 100%. You know, sometimes being the +1, there's not really a lot bad there in terms of the +1. So I think there's absolutely nothing wrong as far as that's concerned. So without further ado, like I said, you guys could drop questions throughout the show. Feel free to do so, and make sure you like the video. Of course, hit subscribe, and also down below is a direct link to Buffalo's YouTube channel. You can obviously check out his as he's streaming on his channel as well. So this is awesome, and this is so cool. So we're figuring this out live on the fly here, Buffalo, but I can see when people are commenting from your side versus my side. So I can see when commenters are coming through the Boy Green channels and from yours. So this is really cool how this is coming together. For instance, I have Grove here, who is from the Buffalo channel watching right now. I'm ready for at least a 12-5 season, catapulting us into the playoffs, and at least would tie the record most regular season wins by a Jets team all time. That's 1998, the 12-win team. Oh man, this is so cool. I'm glad that we did this. This is phenomenal. This is phenomenal. I just have to say that off the top. Whoa. Okay. AC, why does everyone from Buffalo look like a douche? Love you, Paul. Ooh, Buffalo. Getting this started with a bang.
It's May. Come on.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
Save that for the bye week.
100%. Yeah, if we could, please. All right, I'm going to pull up the Jet schedule here. We'll dive into our top 5 list. Like I said, your guys' questions can continue to come up as well, and I'll let you guys see the schedule as we're going through this. But I'll just reveal as I have it up here, and you guys can see it. I'll throw it up here on the screen. My number 1, and there's a lot of bias here, so I will name that right off the top as it's popping up here on the screen for all of you guys. My number 1 game for the 2023 season is the Dallas Cowboys week 2. Now, like I said, and by the way, this schedule goes from left to right and then down. So left, right, down. It doesn't go north to south down, just for those watching at home. But it's a Cowboys game. My dad and me are going. We've booked the tickets, the hotels, all that stuff. So Jets, Cowboys. And then, again, it's America's team. It's all the hubbub you're going to get at a 425 America's game. It's not necessarily primetime, but it might as well be, because they draw similar ratings to primetime games and quite often straight up beat primetime games at those ratings. So we'll go back and forth here, Buffalo. But my number 1 game that I'm looking forward to, of course, because I'm going to be at guaranteed, is that game, because I think that's just going to be America's introduction, if not Monday Night Football the week before, but America's true introduction with Aaron Rodgers' first road game as a member of the New York Jets.
You have that one as number 1, man.
Number 1, absolutely. Again, both being there and then the gravitas of it to me. The Cowboys have like this national brand and everything else. Like, man.
Well, and doesn't Aaron Rodgers have some sort of really impressive all-time record against the Cowboys too?
He does both record and then, like, we talk about in college football, quote unquote, Heisman moments. He had the crazy, of course, last season, the wild comeback in Green Bay to beat the Cowboys, but even more impressive, whether it was the playoff game or late in the season, I can't remember which. I think it was the playoff game, was the Jared Cook crazy Rodgers throw catch thing. So he's had
Oh,
just all these
right. That was
crazy
Dak's rookie year, I
moments.
think, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. So he's had all these kind of crazy moments, which also personally adds it to me because it just feels like there's even extra juice from that perspective.
I love this matchup. My number one
Mhm.
though,
Okay.
I know it's kind of chalk, but dude, just Monday night home against the Buffalo
I
Bills to
figured.
start it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think for that my favorite, what makes football my favorite sport is, I'm a Mets fan too, and it's like you check in every now and then. I know I get the
Yeah.
update like they played at 3 p.m. and while I'm logging off of work, I'm like, oh, the Mets lost 6-4. Oh, okay, but the NFL, every game, it is live or die. It is never too early for your
Yeah.
record to matter, and it's never too early for your divisional record to matter. And I think to start off by at least certifying, at the very least, a split against who is on paper, the favorite to win our division, and seeing Aaron Rodgers in a Jet jersey for the first time, I just got to go with that one, man. For me, definitely.
And that's fair. And by the way, I will speak to it again. So I'm an NBA fan. My family is all from Massachusetts, so I'm a weird Celtics fan. I know I try to keep that under wraps because I know everyone immediately throws rocks at my house. But there's like an 82 game regular season, so they lost. Okay, like the Jets, it is, as you said, just so live and die that every game I'm on. Like if they lose, I'm in a terrible mood forever until like I get to Monday or Tuesday or whatever it is the next week, and I physically move on as we have guests from the next opponent. But like it is so live or die. Which brings me, I brought up the New England thing. Number two, it's the week 3 home game against the New England Patriots. Not only is this the chance to end the streak and all this other crap, but this is perhaps like the first two opponents obviously are really good. Buffalo obviously is the reigning defending AFC East champs. The Dallas Cowboys are the Dallas Cowboys, and they always seem to be in the conversation. But New England is this team that is perceived at this point to be inferior, and you have the streak, the records, and everything. And then the Jets, of course, have Aaron Rodgers, where you have this massive quarterback advantage that the Jets haven't had in a long time heading into a Jets Patriots game. That to me, at home, the palpable energy, because we saw how the Jets Dolphins first one ended, where the Jets blew them out like 40-17 or something. But to have that potentially from the get go, and the Jet fans just like unleashing their primal instincts of beating the crap out of the New England Patriots, the out of body experience of Aaron Rodgers in a Jets uniform beating the crap out of the Patriots, like that to me, and I can already taste it and see it, and it's obviously so many months down the road, that has to be number 2. That is one of the first ones I circled in permanent marker right off the bat on the schedule. Absolutely number 2.
We're in lockstep there. That is my number 2. That was my wish to open the season, is to get that disgraceful streak over with, because let's be honest, for the most part of this horrific streak, they've been the better team. Now there's been some tomfoolery with the Austin Seferian-Jenkins fumble. We also lost to them in a game in 2015 in which they rushed for -2 yards for the whole game. So there's been some weird stuff, but for the most part, they've just been a more talented, better coached football team. But that wasn't the case last year. We were a better team than them last year, and we hand wrapped them 2 wins. Well, one of them, the referees with the JFM call, and then the other one, just, mistakes, obviously, bad quarterback play. Actually, the second game too, with the the missed calls and the punt return, but we played so horrifically. It's how mad can you get at the officials? So that to me, man, even more than, we win or lose to the Chiefs, whatever. I hope to see them in the playoffs, breaking the streak against the Eagles. That, okay, it'd be cool, and they're a really good team, but they're an NFC opponent. So besides getting that one off of our chest right away to get a divisional win against Buffalo, that to me is the game where I'm circling. And you just get weird vibes, like until it actually happens. There's that part of you like, oh, like there's going to be a crosswind and Mac Jones is going to throw 3 times and they're going to win like they did against the Buffalo, right? So you're just waiting, like what weird stuff is going to go down in that game that tilts the scales towards the Patriots, but we have to overcome it. There's no more excuses. You got to win that one.
There is perhaps, and we can all confidently and maybe even overcompensate, right? And puff up our chest. We're going to, of course, destroy the New England Patriots. We have Aaron Rodgers, but there's that little voice in the back here that goes, they've won 13 times.
It's the little brother effect. It's real until you overcome it. It is what it is,
100%. 100%. So that one, I just, same. Like once it happens and then it zeroes across the scoreboard in terms of the duration, the time, and then that's when it goes, oh, we finally did it. Now you could kind of breathe this sigh of relief. And quite frankly, it reminded me, well, we haven't seen it yet, obviously, for the 2023 season, but beating the Dolphins that first time, I didn't give a crap what the circumstances were, finally ending the embarrassing drought of getting swept 2 years in a row in the AFC East and just ending it going, oh, thank God. And that was, I believe, the first AFC East game they played last year. And it's just like, oh, thank God. It's finally over. Thank God. Now he could just breathe and just like take a step and now just kind of go through the rest of your season. It was an odd monkey on the back. So same thing here for the New England game. Now, this one may be too high or too low. I feel like a lot of people are indifferent or have differing opinions on this. I know the national NFL level loves this game. It's a week 4 Jets Chiefs. And so there's multiple reasons why I love this. First off, Sunday Night Football, about damn time. So getting on that one intrigues me. But like some people are scared of this, and I've heard people, Jet fans, say, oh man, what a tough schedule. To me, I am embracing the opportunities. And maybe it's because we have Aaron Rodgers as quarterback, or maybe it's just the kind of person I am that, again, you could perceive something either glass half full or glass half empty. Like, damn, at home, get an opportunity to go one-on-one, square up, a measuring stick game, call it whatever you want, against the defending Super Bowl champions, the face of the NFL and Patrick Mahomes. And just to think, of course, the Chiefs are going to be favored in that game, but what if the Jets beat the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football in week 4? And God knows whatever happens to the previous 3 games. And then you head in, like, man, that to me, all the star power, the sex appeal, the Sunday Night Football thing, Jet fans are going to be crazy, of course, at MetLife Stadium. That one to me tickles the testes. No question about it. That's number 3 on the list.
That's number 3. Yeah, that one is, it's in my top 5, but I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. AFC East, AFC East, AFC East. We need to shut these Dolphin fans up as well. It's personal. Yes. Blood has been drawn. Now, I should be better than I am on Twitter, but unfortunately, I cannot help myself. And the Dolphin fans, man, I did have so many I started just not responding and just like, bookmark, Aaron Rodgers is washed. Bookmark, Tua is going to throw for 400 yards. Bookmark. Yeah. And I,
what
like
a great
14-year-old girl, I am going to unload these receipts, just crying emojis when the final score trickles in. So that's the one I'm looking forward to. And let's be honest, like this division to me is up for grabs, because if now Tua has been, banged up, but the Dolphins did make the playoffs last year. So did the Bills, and the Dolphins got better this offseason. So I think all 3 fan bases, we're all biased, but I think all 3 could make the case that they are going to be the team that ends up winning the division. So these division games are important, obviously, just for general standings and all of that, but it's personal. It's blood. So for me, 1, 2, 3 is Buffalo, then New England, then Miami. And then my last 2 are obviously non-divisional opponents.
Let me ask you, because I didn't really clarify. Are you just saying in general the both Dolphins games? Is it the Black Friday one? Is it in Miami? Is there a difference for you, or it's just in general
the Black
them
Friday,
as an opponent?
The Black Friday, the standalone game at home in our building. Yes, that one.
And we'll do a quick detour here. Again, we'll get back to our list here, but it has been floated. Obviously, Adam Schefter had a piece about it, that the Jets said, hey, we'll do this every year. Initially, apparently, the Bengals were one of the first teams to tell the NFL, hey, we'll take the Black Friday game and we'll take it every year moving forward. There is a sense or a thought, at least Mike North, who's the NFL VP of broadcast planning, he said they're open to the idea, and kind of it makes a lot of sense for the Black Friday thing, as long as Amazon has a deal with the NFL. They're retail, New York, the retail capital and all these other things. Would you be open, and would you cherish, would you appreciate, similar to like the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, the Lions on Thanksgiving, the Jets on Black Friday becoming a new prime time? I get it's 3:00, but prime time tradition on a year-to-year basis. Is that something you would embrace and even root for to happen?
Why not? I'm kind of indifferent if it happens. That's cool.
Okay.
And I subbed in for our buddy Green Bean on the Talking Jets panel
I saw
last night.
Congratulations,
and
superstar.
Oh yeah. And Matt O'Leary made a good point. He was like, look, man, I had to grow up watching Joey Harrington and John Kitna every single Thanksgiving. So spare me if the NFL world has to, watch some Jets games. I'd be fine with a little tradition there. My current job, I have off pretty much every Black Friday. So if it's the middle of the day,
nice.
it's no harm, no foul for me. So I'm kind of like Hard Knocks with that one. It's fun. Sign me up for it. If it doesn't happen, I'm cool with that too.
Yeah, again, it's same in that second ladder of what you said. Again, if it didn't happen, I wouldn't start crying about it, but it
Right.
would be kind of cool for the Jets, who are one of the historic franchises, the reason the NFL is the NFL today, to have a foothold on what would be, in theory, one of the Christmas game, the Christmas Eve games, the Thanksgiving games, like part of the tradition of the NFL on a year-to-year basis moving forward. It would be pretty cool. Again, we'll see what happens. The NFL and Mike North said that they didn't want to commit to a long-term partner on the first ever inaugural edition. They want to see how it goes, and obviously, if the Jets have this great success that they think, then they'll go to that game. So I've already revealed my top three. Again, Cowboys number one. You got to go there week 2. New England number 2, and then Kansas City as the number 3. My number 4, how can we not go to this? It's the New York Giants. The Jets are coming off a bye week. The quote-unquote battle for New York, being quote-unquote on the road, is fine and dandy with me, because that's 10 home games or 10 games at MetLife that you're playing. And there's just something about the Giants. I do a sports talk radio show every day with a Giants fan, and it's disgusting. And I want to shut the big brother, little brother thing. All that is bull. So I've just had enough. So anytime they play, that has to like automatically be in the top 5 somewhere. So Jets, Giants, it always adds a little juice. And I remember, what was the last one? What was that? Jamal Adams ripping the ball to Saquon Barkley, high stepping it into the end zone. We had the Brandon Marshall game in 2015, which was wild. The overtime win. Like, we've had some goodies and some baddies, of course. The Victor
Cruz. Yeah, of course.
100%. But again, so Jets, Giants, I mean, I think it kind of writes itself. So I have to peg that one in at number 4.
Okay, so my top 3 were number 1, week 1 against Buffalo, number 2, week 2 against New England, and number 3, Black Friday home against Miami. And then 4, I will circle back to the Chiefs, just because they're, you know, a litmus test, I guess. You know, find out what cut your teeth right away. And I too don't. I'm not down with the schedule. You know, every year it seems like, you know, the Jets get screwed with the schedule. And last year we were saying how we had this gauntlet to start the season, but then at the end of the year, you know, it would get easier, and it kind of ended up being the reverse. So outside of the Bills, Eagles, and Chiefs, like, those are the 3 teams on our schedule where it's like, okay, barring a quarterback injury, they're going to be really good. But other than that, you know, things happen. Like, we thought Denver and Green Bay were going to be some of our toughest games, right? We said,
and we won both of those.
Right. We were like, hey, I hope Deshaun Watson doesn't play, but, you know, Jacoby Brissett had a better year than him. We faced a better quarterback that day. You know what I mean? So I'm not worried about the schedule. There's also some hidden benefits in the Jets schedule in terms of the amount of rest they have relative to the teams that they play. And they get 10 games at MetLife Stadium, and there's not a ton of crazy travel. And the thing is, the AFC East, they all play similar opponents. So the Bills and the Dolphins have a really tough schedule too. So that's not really an excuse for me. And I like the gauntlet early. I like it. I don't want to be in the position of, you know, the Minnesota Vikings, kind of where you're like 7-2, but it's like, are you really good? You know, let's find out what we're made of right away. And the Chiefs are definitely a top 5 game. They're number 4 for me.
And by the way, as you look at the schedule in front of us here, so we talk about those first 6 weeks. And again, you mentioned the 3, I don't want to call them impossible, but just like, they're going to be good. Like, I would be flabbergasted if they're not all at number 1 seed conversations and things of that nature. That's the Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles. The commonality, they're all at home for the Jets. So with all the scheduling stuff that you talked about, Buffalo, on a year-to-year basis, where Jet fans almost automatically say, oh man, like, we get screwed, this, that, or the other. Like, that's not really the case this year. And quite frankly, it goes even beyond that. I'll reveal some of those scheduling quirks. Shout out to Rich Samiti, who had this in his Sunday column about some of the unique things. Like, we already talked about some of them in terms of the Jets having, you know, some of those advantages when you look at the schedule in terms of travel and things of that nature. But here's this, and I'll read them both here for you guys. The Jets are plus 12 days in net rest differential compared to the opponents. Last year, they were -8. So again, that means they're going to typically have more rest than their opponents. Here's the other thing, which, by the way, that plus 12 is the 5th best differential in 21 years in the NFL. So the Jets got a real solid from the NFL. And here's another one. New York doesn't face a single opponent coming off a bye during the 2023 season. I mean, that's just an amazing stat. I remember last year, I couldn't find the number, but it wasn't buys, but I just think it was teams coming off extra rest, like the Steelers, the Dolphins. There's a bunch of games where the other team had the net differential benefits on the New York Jets. So it's nice to see that swing the other way around. And I have to round out the top five. How could I not? Of course, I have to put the opener, trying to give a little bit of difference between our lists. But week one, Monday Night Football was drooling over. It was awesome to hear television networks were fighting over the New York Jets. That's an oddity we're not used to. But again, the same thing. If the Jets win, they guarantee that they're in first place in the AFCs. Could they be tied with other teams? Of course, obviously. But to guarantee, and you guarantee if you beat the Bills, not only are you on top, at least with a tie, the Bills are guaranteed, obviously, to be below you. So, man, what an opportunity to just put the stamp, of course, to end week one on the right foot with the rest of the NFL. Like, look what we just did as we progress into the next week, which again would be that Cowboys game. Like, man, that's just a great opportunity. It's going to be crazy. I can't wait to see the crowd. Week 16 last year was our only primetime game, and seeing CJ Mosley, aka the Buffalo Jet fan, doing his Bane impression was beautiful and amazing. And I wish I was there at the stadium, but I also wish I wasn't, based on everything I ended up seeing that Jaguars game at home. But it looked like they did such a great job with being ready for the primetime game, even though that was their only one. So now actually being good, and then having all the opportunities to hype it up with smoke, light show, CJ Mosley, and everybody else, that thing excites me. So that rounds out the top five. I have to go with week one, the home opener against the Buffalo Bills. That rounds out the top five. What's your final one, Buffalo?
I will now circle back to the Dallas Cowboys. So our 5 and 1s were both the same, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, I think it's just, I feel like it's just a win. I don't know why I'm so confident about that game. It's just crazy to be in May. I just think Aaron Rodgers owns that team, and that's going to be a huge win.
We haven't lost to him since what, 2007? That's kind of a weird quirk, because again, you only play him once every 4 years, but we've been kicking their ass lately.
Yeah, that'll probably have the biggest viewership of any of our games, regular season games, besides maybe the Monday night opener. Other than that, that'll probably be the most eyes on us. So just for the glitz and the glamour, the Hollywood aspect of it, I'll sneak that into the top 5 as well. So actually some pretty good variance in our lists.
Yes, yeah, which I like, a little variety in the diet. That's always important. And a healthy reminder, if guys, you're just joining us now, we're streaming live in 4 different places. Buffalo Jet Fans YouTube channel, 10,000 plus subscribers strong. And if you're watching on my side of things, make sure you're subscribed to him. His link to his channel is down below in the YouTube. But also, guys, make sure you're showing your support no matter where you're watching on any of the tabs. Like the video, hit subscribe down below, baby. We're doing this every week, and now we have the capabilities, and we'll check me and Buffalo after the show. We'll go back to the boardroom, make sure everything looked great, and if so, we'll be doing this moving forward. So this will be awesome. So guys, make sure you're showing your support from that perspective. We'll bring up the Quinnen thing, and I know you've been doing it on a few shows of your own, and also on the Jets panel last night. So I don't want to beat a dead horse, and there's a lot of social media activity about it, but just kind of your overall, what's your worry meter on the Quinnen thing? If it even registers on the Richter scale, with them following things and wiping the bio and doing the this and the that and the social media reactions, optimistic, sipping the tea, and all this jazz we've been seeing over the last bunch of weeks. What's the worry scale for you on the Quinnen situation?
Okay, so if a 0 was he's already extended, and a 10 is, oh my goodness, he's going to be traded, a 1.
Yes.
Right? You know, not really worried at all. I mean, does anyone in it's so interesting too, because I feel like for 2 months we as Jet fans, the Aaron Rodgers thing, like you saw, I think most of us assumed it was going to be done, but you did see like a percentage of the fan base that was like, oh my God, what is Joe Douglas doing? Just get it done. We're messing it up. The Niners are going to trade the 4,000th and second, 200th overall pick. He has a house in Tennessee. He's Aaron Rodgers. He has a house in every state. Good Lord.
Of course. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's it seems like that we're just built to, we feel like we can't have a good thing. So we always feel like we have to get ahead of what's the next thing to panic about. You don't love it. I don't love this, because it always kind of puts that kind of the team versus the player, right? And then fans kind of chiming in the middle. And I don't know how to have an opinion on it, because yes, you could say Joe Douglas, just pay the man. Of course, I agree, but I don't know exactly what Quinnen's demands are. And if you remember, comparing it again to the Aaron Rodgers thing, remember when we were heading into legal tampering and there was no news, right? And we were like,
Yeah,
Aaron
right.
Rodgers
What's
hasn't
scaring us?
told us
Yeah.
he's holding it up. And then you come to find out, like, he wasn't holding anything up. He already let the teams know, and it was just the teams doing business. So you don't want to make assumptions about either side with limited information. If story breaks that, the Jets really were lowballing Quinnen and saying we're offering you 19 million a year, then I'd be pissed at Joe Douglas. If it really is true that Quinnen wants the Aaron Donald money, then I'd say that's ridiculous. But I have a feeling that you see those reports that they're not close. It's like, how can they not be
Yes.
close? Because the market has been so firmly set, it seems like, with all these defensive tackles getting paid. And if Quinnen wants slightly north than what those guys want, I'm fine with that. If the next highest guy got 23 and a half, if you want to make it 24 and a half to 25, that's fine. Maybe I have a feeling it must come down to like length and guarantees more than per year value, because to me, the per year value is pretty set.
Yeah, I would imagine, and again, I'm just speaking on a no man's land, although we did do an interview with Henry McKenna, who covers the AFCs for Fox Sports. He broke the story on what reportedly Quinnen Williams' contract demands are, so he broke the story Monday. We were able to get him just a few minutes after that story broke, which was nice. And so he had a couple of things to say, like, again, Quinnen doesn't want to trade. He loves being with the Jets. So he was able to provide a couple of nuggets from his sources, which was nice to hear. Again, that's encouraging with all the hoopla going on. But the other thing was some of those contract discussions and where the comfortable number was. And according to Henry, Quinnen wants somewhere between 25 and 30 million. And that's a little bit of a wide range, but still, it still firmly obviously puts him at number 2. Is there a line you wouldn't cross, though, Buffalo, before we get to some mailbag questions that we received earlier? And I see we have super chats coming in. Those are always available, again, on YouTube. You guys can send the super chats in. But, Buffalo, is there a number you won't cross? Like, okay, like in this mythical world, again, as we talk about like 25 to 30, like, okay, 27 or 28 or 25 or whatever that number is. Is there a magical line in the sand, or is there not for you, for Quinnen?
I mean, yeah, there has to be a walkaway number. It's tough because if I give you the number and you say, okay, that and $500,000, I say, okay, fine. You know what I mean? So, but I think probably around like the 26 and a half, like 27 million, to me, that just seems too far above what the other guys got.
Okay.
I mean,
he is better than those guys according to the numbers. So
yeah, he was better than all of them last season.
Like yeah.
Now, guys like, the argument that somebody like Jeffrey Simmons might make is that, they were a Pro Bowl or whatever multiple years, and this was Quinnen's first breakout year. That's what the Jets are saying back and forth to the agent. That's how it goes. But I don't know, like 27 plus. I think that's around where it's like, okay, you might have to play a little bit of hardball if it's north of 27.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Again, we'll get to the super chat in a second, but I want to give it its proper love for being on the show in the middle of our question here. I'll get to it in just a moment. But I think for me, again, first off, it ain't my money. So, I mean, if Quinnen gets insert number, I mean, like, how does it affect me? Not much. So, like, we'll of course react to it if it was either too high or too low. We share our opinions and have insiders on our shows and stuff about it. But to me, he's just so much better than all those other guys that got paid. And I joined a Jet show earlier this week. A shout out to Italy Jet and everything NYJ. They brought up a good point. And maybe Quinnen in the negotiating table shouldn't be bringing up his 12 sacks. He should bring up the game that he didn't play in, the Detroit Lions, when they had 0 sacks in that game, and say, hey, it's almost like the Peyton Manning got injured that year and they went 2-14 like Curtis Painter, and said, hey, he should win the MVP. That just showed you how valuable he is with the same exact team. Could Quinnen just say, hey, look at that Lions game, pal? You want to imagine a world without Quinnen? You don't have to look very far. Look at that Lions game. The defense totally crumbled / wasn't exactly what it was. It's not like the Lions dropped 35 points. Again, they got help on a punt return touchdown of their own. Thanks, Braden, man, for that, you bastard. But, so it wasn't like they were lighting up the world, but at the same time, the defense was clearly not the same without Quinnen, so maybe that's what he could point to. So I think there's a little something to be said. So my number's a little more – it's the line's a little looser because I'm willing to pay him whatever it takes because I read this stat earlier, Buffalo. I'm sure you saw it. The Jets have not re-signed a first-round pick between 2012 and 2018 to a second contract. They're the only NFL team to not do that. And that's because their drafting has
Jeez.
stunk. And that's just a horrible stat.
Yeah.
2012 to 2018, all of your first round picks over that span, you didn't sign one of them to a second contract. And the worst part is most of the Jet first round picks that didn't work out, they didn't jump to some other team and become a role player. They left the league, which just shows you how terrible you were at both drafting and developing. And no one else in the NFL thought even enough to bring them in for an invite or something. So to me, like, no wonder Quinnen brought that up at his exit meeting. Like, pay me, man. So that's why my line's a little bit looser, I think, Buffalo, at the end of the day.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, let's get to the super chat here. The Jet Show. Thank you so much, Golden Baby, because you give a $9.99. Appreciate it. Just showing love and support. I'm excited to see Michael Clemens take a huge step. And I appreciate you spelling Michael Clemens' name correctly. He really appreciates that. I know it's not the normal way that Michael is spelled, but I can speak on behalf of the Clemens camp because obviously we're incredibly tight. We're two peas in a pod. He's one of my favorite players on the team. And I don't say that jokingly. I freaking love Michael Clemens. So hopefully we'll be hearing more from Michael Clemens this offseason. I think he's a sneaky important piece of this puzzle, especially with how the Jets have, I don't want to say ignored because they brought in Quentin Jefferson, they brought in Al Woods, but they haven't like invested like Fletcher Cox. They may have tried, but they didn't land the big fish of Fletcher Cox or any big name to go along with Quinnen, which is putting faith in JFM to go inside, outside, Michael Clemens inside, outside. I think that's a sneaky part that I don't think we're giving credit to there, Buffalo.
Yeah, I oh, you froze on me. Are we good? There we go.
Okay. Yes, we're still good. Yep, we're on. Yep.
Yeah, I think Michael Clemens, remember one of the knocks on him was, oh, he's an older prospect, but it's like, well, okay, part of that was he was ready to play right away. For a fourth round pick to get as many snaps at that position of edge in a room that was that deep was really impressive. And he was a plus run defender right away. Can do a little bit inside. I see a lot of that. Oh, play Michael Clemens at defensive tackle. Well, they're hesitant to move JFM full time there. And JFM's like 290 and Clemens is, he's not even 270. He's pretty lean. So probably only like NASCAR fronts, but Michael Clemens is, again, with him and Max Mitchell, you already checked off the box that they're fourth round picks that look like they belong in the league right away. So already it's confirmed that they're not busted picks. And then we'll see where they go from there. But you love to see it. I think obviously the Jets hit with those, the top 4 picks, but I think there's some hidden value in terms of that draft from a national fan perspective who may not know about Max Mitchell, Michael Clemens, and then Jeremy Ruckert hasn't even played yet. So it could be like 6 or 7 starters from this draft. It's crazy.
Yeah, and if you think about, go to a couple years ago, the IDSIC 12, Jalen Saunders, do you guys remember that name? That wide receiver went in the 4th round who was cut. He didn't make the 53-man roster as a 4th round pick. Cameron Clark retired, unfortunately, due to an injury. Like James Morgan is bouncing around the league for like a 4th round pick like Max Mitchell or 4th round pick Michael Clemens to be not only like key players that had to step in because of injury, Max Mitchell and Clemens included, but guys that were part of the team that like the Jets drafted him, had a plan for him and brought him in. So that's really encouraging. The Jet Show, thank you so much for your support. It's awesome. And anybody feel free to use the YouTube super chat feature. It's available. Again, this is a show by the people for the people. Drop those questions and comments in wherever you're watching. And I'm going to throw a couple of mailbag ones. I'll also throw some answers in here as well for some of these, but let me throw this one at you, Buffalo. Start here from our mailbag that we had some of these questions sent in. Who is the most surprising player you can think of, Buffalo, that could be cut before the Jets start training camp?
Oh, man.
Yeah. Realistically.
Ooh.
Who's the guy?
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Man, I think, the big names of like Carl Lawson and Corey Davis and Jordan Whitehead, I think they all stay. I think they would have released them by now.
Mm-hmm.
And Dwayne Brown, I think, stays too. I don't know if there's maybe would Ashton Davis I'll say this, Denzel Mims.
Yeah.
Denzel Mims. That's the one. Now, maybe it's not a surprise to some people. Denzel Mims, it's I don't know if there's been a more polar take on a player. It's like nobody is just like, yeah, Denzel Mims could probably be a decent backup receiver. Nobody thinks that. It is either he is your Jets forever, he is a Hall of Famer that Mike LaFleur ruined, or he is like complete and utter trash and shouldn't be on the team. So I think this is actually, I have a hunch when I start getting closer into the summer, I do my 53-man roster prediction. I think maybe this is the year that Mims is traded. And I think that they do go with one of those Jason Brownlee or TJ Luther to round out the bottom of the receiver room, along with Randall Cobb and they flip Mims for like a 6th-round pick or something, maybe. Which would be a bummer.
Yeah.
Because I love the draft pick so much, but at some point after 3 years, you're starting to run out of excuses a little bit, especially now with a new coordinator and a new Aaron Rodgers. Like
Good
if it's
point.
not working this summer, it's probably a wrap as a Jet.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say this because we're more focused on Jet shows, obviously, because we both do them. So I'm not as familiar with other team storylines, but I don't know if there's a team that has been more in terms of the Jets where a player, if he fails here, it's not just because the player stunk, it's because of some other reason. Le'Veon Bell, well, it was clearly Adam Gase. He would have been great if someone else was there. Denzel Mims, so many players throughout Jets history, free agents, draft picks, whatever, they were quarterbacks, obviously, that have come through here. It's not because the Jets picked a bad quarterback, it's because the Jets are so inept that they can't bring something else to the table. So I don't know if there's another NFL team that quite fits the bill in that way. Than the New York Jets. I think you're right. Again, the name that I continue to see thrown out there is Jordan Whitehead. But unless they get like a Kevin Byard or something of that nature, because again, everyone wants to fire people. Everyone has this bloodlust to fire people and they get all revved up. But if you're firing someone, you have to replace them with someone. I just don't know who is replacing Jordan Whitehead. Are you replacing Jordan Whitehead with Chuck Clark and then figuring something out at the other safety spot? Like, that's what
They would have
I'm
had to do it
confused
earlier
at.
in the offseason and sign. Like
Correct.
it's at this point, it is what it is. And I'll say this: Jordan Whitehead
Yeah.
to me, he was a cut. Whenever I did my mock off seasons, he was one of the first things.
Yeah.
You cut Jordan Whitehead, but this Jets brass, they do err on giving, whether it be draft picks or free agents, that one more year, right? That one more year,
Mhm.
and
Yes, right.
I think that in and of itself is something to admire. Now, I will point out a lot of Jets fans wanted Sheldon Rankins cut right after his first year with the team was
They
disappointing.
did,
Then he
yes.
bounces back. Now, am I as optimistic about that as I am with Jordan Whitehead? No, but I think with JD and Salah, I don't think they've earned the Ozzie Newsome and Jim Harbaugh like stamp of everything they do is gold. But I think they have
Yeah.
at least earned the benefit of the doubt that they're not completely incompetent, and that with Adam Gase, it was like whatever they did, you knew it was awful, right? Even if you liked something before, you're like, oh no, the Jets did it, it's awful. It's not like that anymore. And so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on players like you got Aaron Rodgers. If Jordan White is a starting safety, I think I can live with it.
Yeah, yeah. No, 100%. That makes sense. And I think you may have already answered this next question, so feel free to just plug it in with one of the answers you provided, but I'll still ask the question for everyone as well. And yes, whether you're on Buffalo's, which this comment is on Buffalo's channel, or ours, yes, click the like button. Show support for both of these shows. We appreciate it. The other question is this. Name a player that will steal a 53-man roster spot that we aren't expecting. And again, you can mention one of your wide receivers. I'll start this to get your juices flowing. And this is a weird answer to it, but I think Jeremy Ruckert. And here's why. The tight end room is super deep, but I think whose spot he's going to steal is Nick Bodden at fullback. If you flip Nick Bodden out and move Jeremy Ruckert in, who's this insane blocker from Ohio State, because if you don't, I don't see how he gets on the field. You have Tyler Conklin, you have CJ Uzama, and no matter what jumbo tight end set you use, Ruckert is like already playing behind the 8 ball because of the depth of the room. So I think he steals the spot by kicking Bodden's ass out. Ruckert becomes the blocker, and he comes this quasi everything role: H back, full back, occasional tight end to get spots. Like, I think that's the spot he steals, because if not, I don't know how he gets on the field. And then once again, he's either redshirt or cryogenically frozen. So that's kind of my unique answer, which could open the door for Zach Kuntz to kind of do a double dip for the question. So that could be kind of intriguing to me. Who tickles your fancy for that question, Buffalo?
I will probably say I think Jarek Bernard Converse. I don't know if that's
Ooh,
a hot
yes.
take because he was a draft pick, but I think him replacing either Ashton Davis or Bryce Hall, I think, are two guys who are on the last year of their deal who's, whose cap hits for the role they play are kind of high, like $3 million for what those guys do. So maybe the Jets want to go with him. I don't know if I think they might see him as more of a safety. I think it's kind of like Jason Pinnock, where you take a super raw corner
Yes.
who's athletic, who's got good size, and you transition him to safety. So I think maybe he might stick. Maybe he's like your 4th or 5th safety and like your 6th or 7th corner and a special teamer kind of situation
Yeah.
as a roster spot. And then I think I'm looking at linebacker, and man, it's
Ooh,
if we don't
okay.
re-sign Quan,
Ooh, there's a
Dude, I
lot
don't
of
know.
inexperience, man.
Chaz Surratt? Like, could there be a Chaz
That could
Surratt
be.
sighting?
Yeah. I
I
mean,
actually
yeah.
like Chaz Surratt a little bit, man. I liked his stories, starting as a quarterback, switching to linebacker. And then they played him last year when they were like, they were clearly just pissed their linebackers for missing too many tackles against the Patriots. So we're like, we're going to play Chaz Surratt. We'll show you. And
Yeah.
then, like, he got hurt immediately, but he is pretty athletic. I guess they're really banking on Sherwood taking a step forward in that
Apparently.
linebacker room.
Yeah.
Which, we'll see. He has such a small sample size, but he was pretty good in limited reps last year. He's a really good tackler, at least.
They're making one of two gambles here, Buffalo. Either, look, the rest of our defense is so good, we can afford to have a somewhat inexperienced third linebacker. Our defense is so good, we could figure out the other safety spot or depth behind Chuck Clark, Jordan Whitehead, like Tony Adams, we just have belief in. So, or again, just the faith in the guys. So either faith in the overall defense, they can mask the weaknesses of the lesser, or vice versa. They truly believe in the guys. They don't give a flying hoot what anyone thinks on the outside. And hey, Tony Adams is going to be a stud. Hey, Sherwood, Nasruddin, Zaire Barnes, any dart throw you want to make as that third linebacker, maybe that's a belief. So I'm not sure which one is the correct answer to
There's
that.
also
But
this. There's the wild card of
what's that?
that
Okay.
me and Joe Blewett have talked about it on our podcast that 7 people listen to, including both of our mothers. And they don't even make it the whole way. It was the first ad comes up and they click right out.
Understandable.
So it's a trash podcast, but appreciate you guys who help us out. Now we've kind of floated the idea of maybe in certain situations, either Whitehead or Clark kind of play that third linebacker role, and then say if it's Adams and then the other one at safety.
Wow. Okay. I had not even, this is the first time I'm hearing it. And man, and again, closer to the box, Whitehead, boing, Chuck Clark. Oh man, that one. And Clark is such a good tackler. And Whitehead was sold us the bill of goods that he was a good tackler. He's just a good thumper, but people bounce off his tackle so much. But still, if he's closer to the line of scrimmage, he's not relied on. Yeah, 100%. I think, wow. Okay. I have not thought of that. So there you go. Buffalo bringing a little juice to the table. Okay. I like that. I like the cut of your jib. At the very least, I like the creative thinking to figure out ways, because Salah's going to as that kind of guy. So, okay, I like that. That's a good answer. Let me throw. I don't even know if you've responded to this. I have not seen your opinion on this, or even if you've shared it yet. Have you heard of the Brandon Marshall coming out of retirement thing, jumping from wide receiver to tight end? What, before I even ask my question, just what are your thoughts? And I just think personally, it's kind of cool that, the Jets are such a sexy thing now that anyone is willing to get off the couch to go play for them because it's so fun, which is a fun response for me. But yeah, Brandon Marshall willing to dust it off. What say you, Buffalo?
Yeah, I think he was obviously joking. I don't think that's like a real thing that's being considered by anyone. But it does speak to the fact that the Jets are going to be able to get, with Aaron Rodgers here, are going to be able to get veterans to come here and take a little bit less. These role players like Randall Cobb, which I never seen the wide receiver 5 signing get so much criticism from the national media. Like, oh my God, how could the Jets sign? How could the Jets replace Jeff Smith, the legendary Jeff Smith, with Randall Cobb? And you know what? Randall Cobb was actually, he's washed. That's fair to say, but he's still a really efficient backup wide receiver. I feel like as NFL fans, we can't fathom the idea of somebody not being a good starter anymore, but still being a good backup. Like whenever we sign anybody, like, oh, that guy's trash. The Jets signed Billy Turner. He's trash. Like, yeah, he's going to be like our tackle 3 and guard 2 or 3 or whatever. So you're going to be able to get those deals. You love to see it, but Marshall's just, I think he was just clowning around. I think he knows his days of wide receiver or tight end, whatever it is, are done.
Yeah. I want to throw this out. I never got a chance to tweet this, but it's a Cobb nugget you just brought up. Here it is. I believe this was from Rich Samini. I only screenshotted the stat. Over the last 2 seasons, Aaron Rodgers has posted a 90.7 QBR when targeting Randall Cobb, his second highest QBR targeting a single player of that span, behind only Devontae Adams. I heard he's pretty good, according to ESPN stats and info. Since entering the league in 2011, Cobb has posted more catches, yards, and touchdowns from the slot than any player in the NFL. That's wide receiver 5? It's wide receiver 6? I mean, what are we talking about?
I got another juicy nugget for you. Let's dig into these Randall Cobb stats. So, Randall Cobb, last year, he caught 68% of his targets, and he had 12.3 yards per reception. So that's not just checked on Charlie. He was, out of all qualifying receivers in the NFL, he was one of only 8 that met both of those criteria. So, He's an efficient backup. Like what's
with great chemistry already with Aaron Rodgers.
right? That of course he's Aaron
What are we
Rodgers.
talking about?
He's Aaron Rodgers binky.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, again, and even if Randall Cobb stunk, he doesn't. He's fine. He's not a superstar. I'm not selling you guys that bill of goods. But even if his mere presence, like after a tough game, he goes and likes to talk to Randall Cobb in the locker room, an immediate guy to talk to, not even on the phone or anything. He's there in person and on the sideline, and everything. If that makes him more comfortable, and it's wide receiver 6 or wide receiver 5 of the roster, and people are saying, "What about little Johnny? He was a great story in training camp. He Randall Cobb stole a spot from him." I wouldn't give a flying crap if that makes Aaron Rodgers more comfortable. Anything to make him more comfortable. Like if in his trailer he wants the green M&Ms picked out and he only wants every other color, I would do that because he's Aaron freaking Rodgers. He has a longer leash, and people are like Aaron Rodgers wish list. They're losing their shit about this, and I'm like, what are we talking about here? He's Aaron Rodgers. I will do whatever it takes. First off, to acquire him, we talked about that months ago, but to make him comfortable, why wouldn't you do everything in your power to do that?
Right. Of course. And this has been done for every single quarterback that's changed teams late in the, when Tom Brady got Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown, and obviously Gronkowski worked out great. Brown didn't.
And so did Brown. He was important in that Super Bowl year.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. And the Patriots, obviously the Bucs version of it didn't work out as well, but yeah, it's only because it's the Jets, man. It's why I wish, doing this, we're so plugged into everything. And sometimes I just wish I was more of a casual fan. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Where like every little thing wasn't so just raked over and like having to
under a microscope.
Yeah. And of course, I lean into it, but man, who cares? It's Randall freaking Cobb, Billy Turner.
Yeah.
It's only because it's the Jets, and that's not going to change until we win the Super Bowl. Actually, we have to win 2 Super Bowls because the first Super Bowl we win this year, people Sauce Gardner held, doesn't count, asterisk. So then we're going to have to go ahead and get it 2 in a row just to make sure.
Well, and just to your point, again, so I tweeted out the video. I'm not going to replay it here on the show. You guys could check it out on my Twitter, @BoyGreen25. But like Ryan Clark, me and him got in this big tiff a while ago because his big criticism of Aaron Rodgers before he was traded, well, he's only won 1 Super Bowl. Like, what a loser, he was saying on the show. Like, look at all these years of him not winning the Super Bowl. Like, what an idiot. And I'm like, man, I'm curious what Ryan Clark thinks of Dan Marino. He must be a scrub too. I just thought it was the stupidest argument in history. So to your point, right, that we talk about kind of these different tiers of evaluations of quarterbacks that have never won a Super Bowl, quarterbacks that have only won 1 ring, quarterbacks that have only done this. Like, if he won, they'd be like, well, let's see what else he could do. Tom Brady already did that, passed the biscuits. But like, again, that's just the wild. Again, to your point, maybe some of us wish we could take a step back and go back to the old days. We were just a dumb fan yelling from the couch and not absorbing it to this level where every microcosm, every detail we're doing videos about on our shows. Maybe to your point, it could go back to kind of the true nature of things. But either way, Ryan Clark, welcome to the bandwagon, you bastard. Took you long enough because today
wasn't he kind of a hater last offseason? I remember
he was. He was a hater last offseason. He was a hater about, like I said earlier, about the Aaron Rodgers thing, and then now this time he said, I'll pull up the quote, but it's on my Twitter account. Long story short, he was on Get Up, and he basically said, "You're like, man, the Jets, by the time the playoffs rolls around, could be one of the best teams in the NFL." And he was just, top defense, Garrett Wilson. He was singing all the praise. I'm just like, man, where was this a couple months ago? You were kind of ragging on the Jets, but now you're jumping on the bandwagon. Way to do it. Better late than never, I suppose, Ryan Clark. But like I said, here we are. Here's just a goofy question. I'll throw it at you, Buffalo. But the reason why I bring it up jokingly. But like, it's almost not a joke because Joe Douglas has literally done this before where he convinced a guy out of retirement off his couch in Mr. Khalil to come to the team. I brought up the Brandon Marshall thing, which just brings back up the conversation. If Joe Douglas could convince a recently retired player to put back on the cleats because of the ring chase, the Aaron Rodgers thing, is there anyone that would tickle your fancy? And again, Joe Douglas literally did it in his first ever season. He replaced Jonathan Harrison in August with a guy off his couch. It was kind of bizarre. It didn't work out, but I love the creativity. And that's what I said way back when doing videos about it. A+ for creativity. It flopped and failed, so maybe he would never do that again. But it kind of got my juices flowing because Aaron Rodgers, that'd make a lot of people think twice about their careers.
Oh man.
I love that answer immediately. JJ Watt. What a great answer.
Oh,
I haven't heard
That's
I've not heard
amazing.
anyone else because like this is my first time saying it on a show. Our other show is pre-recorded, so
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't get
trying to
fan
think of
responses
notable
live.
retirees.
JJ Watt's a really good one though. Thank you, Ricky. That's a really good
JJ
answer to
Watt's
that
probably
question.
going to be tough to beat because he was still good. I think he still had double-digit sacks last year.
Luke Kuechly, linebacker. I'm just thinking of weaknesses on the team. He's recently
Oh,
retired
wait.
doing some
So
ESPN stuff.
are we
Yeah.
getting like the prime version of that player or just
Well, I mean,
literally calling them
no,
off the couch? Because
no, I
Luke
won't go to
Kuechly,
that level. Right,
you
sure.
know,
If we could go prime, then right, I'm saying stupid answers, but
right,
no, like
right,
you
right,
have to
right.
kind of accept what they are. But like Luke
Okay.
Kuechly, the only reason he really walked away from what we understand is concussion. So a couple years away, maybe he's lighter, but that's one that just jumped. And I didn't even think of that when I answered this mailbag question, but that's one off the top of my dome because the JJ Watt thing kind of got my juices flowing. Yeah, Luke Kuechly, he'd be phenomenal. Safeties make sense as if there's someone of note. That Eric Weddle, I guess, is a name that jumps off the top of my head. But is there anyone else? Like Kuechly is the one that is up there now with JJ Watt in my brain. But Watt's a great answer.
I don't know if I can think
Okay.
of
And
too
top those.
many at
That's
the
okay.
moment right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, but there you go. Both of those are very nice. So
Yeah.
shout out to Ricky again. Thank you. Yes, Ricky. Shout out to you, man. Great answer to the question. Let's we have two more here before we sign off, and I'll get to any more questions that are in the chat real quick before we sign off. Who is someone, whether coach or player, that you'll be rooting for on the Jets? It could be an off-season storyline. It could be a training camp. It could be a season, whatever. Again, we all know the Denso. Mim stands in our audience. I had a weird answer from a buddy. He had Nathaniel Hackett because he thinks he's this interesting story. And because he flopped so bad as a head coach, he could be the Jets play caller for the foreseeable future. And I went, wow, that's a great answer. It was sneaky good. I didn't think about that. So there's players, there's Brees Hall's recovery or Mekhi Becton or whatever. Again, it's up to your interpretation. But is there someone you're really rooting for this year, getting behind him?
I think that there are a couple of Jets assistants, particularly in the secondary, be it Tony Oden or Marquard Manuel, that are
Mm-hmm.
destined to be defensive coordinators pretty soon. I think that is the most. I think the Jets cornerback room in the past couple of years has been one of the best coached rooms in the NFL, and
Oh,
it's
I
not
love that
really.
guy. I hope he doesn't go. I saw DJ Bieneme lately kind of saying, hey, maybe he could get hired. I'm like, shut up, DJ. You left the Jets. Keep that crap alone. But
Yeah. I know the Jets corners have been very talented, but if you have a rookie that becomes, arguably the best corner in the NFL immediately, obviously you have to chalk a lot of it up to Sauce Gardner, but you have to credit some of that to coaching.
of
And
course.
even DJ Reed had the best year of his career coming from a
Mm-hmm.
defensive mind in Seattle. And even before, when the Jets defense was really, really bad in 2021, we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about that corner room as like going to be the biggest weakness on the team heading into the year, and it wasn't
And look at
great, but
this.
it wasn't Bryce Hall that year wasn't the biggest problem on our defense. Even guys like Brandon Eccles, who I love Brandon Eccles. He's so scrappy and he stayed so prepared for when he was called on last year. So those secondary coaches, I think, are guys that I'm rooting for them to not be our coaches for much longer because I think they'll get promoted and deservedly so.
Yeah, Mike Clay of ESPN called the Jets the number 2 cornerback room in the NFL, and he said the Jalen Ramsey trade put the Dolphins number 1. I would just say respectfully, first off, Javelin Guidry is back. I think that's great depth. He's a former track star. He had some starts with the Jets. He appeared in a lot of games and was a weirdly good guy at forcing fumbles, kind of like Charles Peanut Tillman a little bit with the Bears, which is interesting. He had 4 forced fumbles in that first year with the Jets. Another great undrafted free agent story. So he's back. But you think about that room, the top 3, I think, is unquestionably the best in the NFL with Sauce, DJ Reed, and Michael Carter II. Then you talk about the other 2 guys who are next in line. Bryce Hall, not bad, especially as your 4th or 5th corner. Brandon Eccles, not bad as your 4th or 5th corner. Then Javelin Guidry just rounds out the room beautifully. All these guys have a ton of experience. Man, I freaking love. I'd put the Jets quarterback room against anyone in the NFL, even the Miami Dolphins. So I don't think Jalen Ramsey is toast, like a lot of Jet fans have been saying this offseason. I also don't think he's the greatest corner in the NFL right now. I think he's a solid middle piece, but that's still great when you have X and everybody else. And they just drafted, I think, Cam Smith in the draft. So like they've got a lot of talent in that room. So, but so I'm not sure that the Dolphins are number 1. I respectfully disagree with Mike Clay, but still, I think Ramsey's better than a lot of Jet fans are giving credit for.
Yeah. Ramsey is still as Jets fans, we kind of can't do that because, we have Aaron Rodgers as our quarterback. And when people say Aaron Rodgers is washed, it's like, dude, no, okay. He's not 2011 Aaron Rodgers, but he's still an excellent, really good football player. And I think Ramsey is the kind of player that maybe when he, in 2 or 3 years, he switches over to safety and it prolongs his career Woodson style. So he's still a really good player. He's one of my favorite prospects of all time when he was coming out of Florida State and getting drafted by the Jaguars. So yeah, he's not as good as Sauce Gardner. Come on.
Right.
Right.
I will say
that's not even a take. Like, come on.
it is not, but people keep saying that. I don't know. Like, and I felt bad. I did a recent interview with an NFL person. I won't name him. I don't want to embarrass him. But we did a recent interview, and they were like, and that other starting corner across Sauce, DJ, is it? I'm like, yes. Yes, that other starting corner is DJ Reed. So it's still, again, and DJ talks about this all the time on Twitter, that he doesn't get the respect. And again, if that gives him a chip on the shoulder, God bless. I don't give a flying hoot what gives people chips on their shoulders as long as they're motivated. Works for me. And I'll just answer the question real quick. I'm biased once again. Laken Tomlinson. I've had him on my show. We've had great chats. It's been really nice to get to know him both on camera and off camera. So we've become very friendly, which has been a pleasure. It's cool when you kind of get close to some of the players that you get a chance to cover. So I'm rooting for him so hard. It was inexplicable how poor he played last season, considering the same position, same system, and everything. But I'm rooting so hard for the guy. He's got a fire in his eyes when I spoke to him this offseason. So, Laken, I am absolutely rooting for him. And I will obviously admit that I am incredibly biased because I've just gotten to know him and his family here over the last couple of months. But I am rooting so hard for Laken Tomlinson to be a success, both for the Jets' success and obviously his own. So I wanted to give him that as well. Here's my final mailbag. And then, like I said, I could do rapid fire if anyone has anything left before we get out of here. We normally do an hour here on the show. With the 2023 schedule out, I already gave my predictions here, Buffalo. 13-4 is what I believe the Jets are going to be this season. What is your prediction? Have you laid it out there yet? Of course, it's subject to change as we mention it here in May with injuries and anything else. Obviously, that could transpire during the offseason. But after studying it and looking it over, I have officially put out there that my prediction for the 2023 season income, regular season only, and I think they're going to compete for the Super Bowl as well, but 13-4 was my official prediction, which would be the most wins in a regular season all time for the New York Jets. Where are you at, Buffalo? Have you given that prediction anywhere yet?
So no, but I know to always shave a win and a half off of my gut. Because my gut is a homer.
Okay.
And last year it worked. Last year I predicted 9 wins, shave off a win and a half, 7. Although the reasons why, look, I didn't think Zach Wilson was going to implode. We had offensive line injuries, so maybe it wasn't a crazy prediction overall. So I'll say 11-12. I'll go 12. I'll go 12-5. To me, 11-6 doesn't feel like a great team, But I will also say I'm not married to I want to win the division, but if you look at the Bengals when they went to the Super Bowl, they were 10-7, I believe. The Bucks, I think, were like an 11-5 or 10-7 ish team. So it's really about staying healthy, getting hot at the right time. But you want to compete for the division, and I think 12 wins is probably going to do it, or probably at least get you in the realm of a tiebreaker for the division.
Yes,
I'll go there. I'll go 12-5.
Yeah, because really, when you say 11, it's only, and I get it's a significant number, but like it's only a handful of games above 500. Like we're talking 5 games, and while 5 games is relatively a lot in a 17-game season, like to me, I feel like 12, 13 wins should be what you're shooting for. Again, with Aaron Rodgers and everything that you had last year. So that's where I'm floating. And I will just say, in terms of the importance, look no further than the New England Patriots' success, both in obviously getting the bye, which obviously would be great, but only one team gets a bye in the new NFL rules. And number 2, the home playoff game is so incredibly important. Of course, teams could go on the road. The Jets built their bones. Both AFC Championship games, all of their games are on the road. Mark Sanchez's 4 record playoff road wins is for a reason. They were able to go on the road and the defense and the run game and all that travel. But again, we haven't known this in 20 plus years, but playing a home game, we've never known this in the MetLife Stadium era of ever playing a home game in terms of a playoff game. Like, man, that just makes everything easier to sleep in your own bed and all that preparation and all that, and force the team to come to your house. Man, that would make things a lot easier if the Jets are hoping to go on this long playoff run, is creating that opportunity, which they haven't had in 20 years. So
right. And Aaron Rodgers does have a pretty significant split. Obviously all quarterbacks do better in their own building, but a pretty significant split when he's been at home, obviously in Lambeau and then on the road. So yeah, hopefully, but I'm not, I don't know. I feel like, I know I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse or whatever, but I'm not scared going into Cincinnati or Buffalo or Arrowhead in the playoffs, man. I like the underdog Jets. That's where I'm comfortable. You
Yes.
know, sometimes when the expectations are high and people are picking us to come to the Super Bowl, it's a little uncomfortable, right? You like it, but at the same time, you're like, no, come on, tell us we're going to suck. Brady Quinn, please tell us we're going 8-9. But I did see Colin
Yeah.
Cowherd tweet out like some anti-Jets thing, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yes.
Because if he said that we were gonna, as I rip my headphones out, if he said we were
Yeah.
gonna be good, that is like cause
The
for
Sam
concern.
Darnold thing. Yes, right,
Oh,
right. The Sam Darnold Adam Gase thing. Right.
dude,
So you are true. Right. So maybe we should be embracing, like, I'm dunking on Ryan Clark from a couple months ago or a couple other people, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's still healthy for the Jets to, the Alan Hahn who said, oh boy, look at the Jets. Like, maybe it's better for us to embrace these people instead of like poking them away and like the Brady Quinns of the world. Maybe we should be like, wait. We need the doubt so that again you can embrace the underdog thing. Maybe you're right, Buffalo. Maybe that's where the waters we should be swimming in. Maybe, just maybe. Maybe you could be onto something there. That could be. That could be. But I love that. Yes, I've seen a few people be making the t-shirts. Be the dragon. Aaron Rodgers to me, I will say this in our closing here, Buffalo. And we'll also set up with whatever shows you have coming up. I've seen a couple people hop over to your YouTube, hit the live section. You see all these shows coming up for you, which is exciting. So we'll get to that in a second. But I will just say, I think Aaron Rodgers has handled this better than anyone could have expected. I never bought into Aaron Rodgers versus the media and the politics and all this other garbage. I just feel like he's handled it great. All the radio interviews of like, what do you think about slaying the dragon? The Jets have sucked for a long time. We're becoming the dragon. Super Bowl or bust. Like, he has said the right Ryan, I'm making up that word, things of like, I don't kiss the rings, but he's just done it in such a way that's really galvanized the Jets fan base, and he said the right things. It'd be easy. Obviously, the Adam Gase press with the crazy eyes, we all get set off with how something starts. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers just handled everything appropriately, which has really revved my engine even more for the season. So I am excited for that, and I think he's pressed all the right buttons early on. Any thoughts on Aaron Rodgers as we close up here, Shop Buffalo?
well, people who are against it, you know, he hasn't played a game yet. Although I will say a lot of the Jet fans who were, you know, kind of anti-acquiring Aaron Rodgers, which maybe you'll be right. You know, it could blow up in our face. We'll see. But a lot of them have told me, well, you have to win the Super Bowl or it wasn't worth it. And I was like, you're making my argument for me, because why would we have gotten the option? Why would we have gotten the quarterback option where that wasn't the goal? Why would you
Right.
pay $170 million for a quarterback to commit to be your starter for 4 years and say, well, you don't have to win the Super Bowl. You know, if it's too much trouble, you know. So yeah, that I'm sold. That should be the goal, man. That should be the freaking goal. But every step of the way. So first, before he even announces it, we were worried that he didn't keep his promise by letting the teams know in time. He kept that promise. Not taking Joe Namath up on the offer to wear number
Really
12.
cool. Really cool.
You know, and it was so easy to do, but it's just such a, it's really is a tip of the cap, especially to the older fan base. And
That
that
was
was great.
unexpected. I'm going to be honest. I did not imagine
I thought he'd
first off
take
for him
it.
to be dropped. I thought he'd take it 100%. Thanks, sucker. I'm Aaron Rodgers. I'm Aaron Rodgers 12. So that number one. And number two, when he was dropping like historical nuggets, I don't know if he opened a book before he came here. I don't know. So it doesn't really matter to me the why, but he went out of his way to talk about the history of the Jets and how important Namath is. So either he knew that and he is this historian of the game, which he's preached to be, or even still that he just did it enough for the bit. I'm going to be honest. I didn't think that was going to happen at all. I thought he'd be like, thanks for the 12. And that would be the picture of him and Namath doing something. So that one pleasantly surprised me, which again speaks to how he kind of set all of this up. So, you know, again, it really wowed me. Buffalo, make sure. What do we got this week? I've seen a lot of these live video setups. You got a lot of shows coming up, but any guests? Your Jets talking panel now? You're a superstar. I saw there's an autograph signing coming up later this summer. Very nice. Looking forward to it. So yeah, what do you got, man?
It's the same old, you know. If you guys are rocking and willing for Jets content during the dead season, I'm here to talk about it. So same as always, probably try to go back to the old short 2-minute hitters that blew my channel up, sneaking the occasional live stream. So same as old. Got to get Paul Boy Green on. We got to do
Yes,
we got to go on like while the sun's out, you know.
Yes, that's a good
Break
point.
up the do something a little bit different. So yeah, I'll have some of the same familiar faces on. Good stuff. Come hang out. Appreciate all you guys again. A lot of you helped me get to 10,000 subscribers, which is
Yeah.
freaking crazy, like that amount of picturing that amount of people. It's like, man,
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people who are like, this guy is decent enough to talk about the Jets. Click. So it's appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's awesome. There you go, a perfect way to end. Buff and BJF and Boy Green, which, by the way, Buffalo is also responsible for that. So he's got a lot of things hanging up on his wall, 10,000 subscribers, and also the creator of this show, of us doing it together. Guys, thanks, everybody. Whether you're watching live or after the fact, like both of our videos. We're streaming live on both of our channels. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in, and we appreciate you. Go Jets.